The moment Elena Frost walked through those glass doors, Dominic Blackwood's wolf went absolutely insane. After 300 years of silence, the beast inside him howled one word that changed everything: mate. But something was wrong. The woman standing before him had no idea she wasn't human. Her wolf was buried so deep she couldn't hear its desperate cries. She thought she was ordinary. She thought this was just a job interview. She had no idea she'd just walked into the lair of the Alpha King. Welcome back to our channel. Before we begin, tell us in the comments, where are you listening from today? We love hearing from our pack around the world. Now, let's begin. Elena Frost had exactly 3 rules for her life. Rule number 1, always be early. Rule number 2, never let anyone see her sweat. And rule number 3, the most important one, trust no one but herself. These rules had carried her through 18 years in the foster system, through a scholarship she'd fought tooth and nail to earn, and through every obstacle life had thrown in her path. They were the reason she stood now in the gleaming lobby of Blackwood Enterprises, her second-hand blazer pressed to perfection, her resume printed on the nicest paper she could afford. The building itself was intimidating, 60 floors of black glass and steel that pierced the Manhattan skyline like a dark blade. Everyone in New York knew the Blackwood name. They were old money, older than most could trace, with fingers in everything from real estate to pharmaceuticals to technology. And their CEO, Dominic Blackwood, was legendary. Not just for his business acumen, though Forbes had named him one of the most influential men under 40 for 5 years running. No, Dominic Blackwood was legendary for being impossible. He'd gone through 15 secretaries in the past year alone. Some quit crying, others simply never came back. The rumors were wild, that he was cruel, demanding, that he could smell fear like a predator scenting wounded prey. Elena didn't believe in rumors. She believed in paychecks, and this job paid 3 times what she currently made. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime, and Elena stepped inside, pressing the button for the 60th floor. Her reflection stared back at her from the mirrored walls. Shoulder-length dark hair pulled into a severe bun, grey eyes behind practical glasses, features that were pleasant enough but not memorable. Ordinary, she thought. That's what she was. Ordinary Elena Frost, with her ordinary dreams of paying off her student loans and maybe someday affording an apartment that didn't have mice. She'd never understood why that word bothered her so much. Ordinary. It was safe, practical, everything she should want. So why did something deep inside her howl in protest every time she thought it? The elevator climbed, and Eleanor's ears popped from the pressure change. Strange. She'd always been sensitive to things like that. To changes in air pressure, to sounds others couldn't hear, to the moods of people around her before they even spoke. Her childhood social workers had called her perceptive. Her foster siblings had called her creepy. Elena called it useful. The doors opened onto the 60th floor, and she stepped into a space that looked more like a modern art museum than an office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the entire city, and the furniture was all clean lines and dark leather. A massive reception desk sat empty, no surprise, given the turnover rate. That was the position she was interviewing for. Executive Secretary to Dominic Blackwood himself. Her heels clicked against the marble floor as she approached the imposing double doors at the end of the hall. Before she could knock, a voice called out from within, "Enter!" Elena's hand froze on the door handle. That voice. It was deep and rich, with an edge of command that made something in her chest tighten. She'd never heard anyone sound so powerful, so utterly certain of their own authority. She pushed the door open. The office was enormous, dominated by a massive mahogany desk positioned before those incredible windows. But Eleanor barely registered the decor, because her entire attention was captured by the man rising from behind that desk. Dominic Blackwood was tall, at least 6'4", with broad shoulders that strained against his perfectly tailored charcoal suit. His hair was dark, almost black, styled in a way that looked effortlessly disheveled. His jaw could have been carved from granite, sharp and unforgiving. But his eyes, God, his eyes! They were gold, not brown, not amber, but actual gold, like molten metal had been poured into his irises. They fixed on Elena with an intensity that made her breath catch, made her feel like prey trapped in the gaze of something ancient and hungry. For a moment, neither of them moved. Dominic's nostrils flared almost imperceptibly, and something flickered across his face. Shock, hunger, disbelief, all of it gone so quickly Elena thought she might have imagined it. Then he smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a wolf who'd just spotted a rabbit wandering into his den. "Miss Frost," he said, and her name in that voice did things to her she refused to acknowledge. "Please, sit. Be." Eleanor forced her legs to move, approaching the chair across from his desk with all the composure she could muster. She sat with her back straight, her hands folded in her lap, her expression carefully neutral. She was not intimidated. She was not intimidated. Dominic didn't sit. Instead, he circled around his desk, moving with a fluid grace that seemed impossible for a man his size. He leaned against the front edge, close enough that Elena caught his scent, pine and something wilder, something that made her pulse race for reasons she couldn't explain. "Your resume is impressive," he said, though he hadn't looked at a single paper. His eyes hadn't left her face. "Top of your class. 3 years at Morrison and Associates without a single complaint." "I'm good at my job," Elena said, proud that her voice didn't waver. "So I've heard." He tilted his head, studying her like she was a puzzle he was trying to solve. "The question is, Miss Frost, why do you want to work for me? Surely you've heard the stories." "I don't listen to stories, Mr. Blackwood. I listen to job offers." Something sparked in those golden eyes. Amusement? Interest? It was impossible to tell. "Direct," he murmured. "I like that." He pushed off the desk and circled behind her chair. Eleanor's entire body went rigid. Every instinct she had screamed at her not to let this man out of her sight, to turn, to keep him where she could see him. She didn't move. "Tell me, Miss Frost." His voice came from directly behind her now, close enough that she could feel the heat of his body. "Do you believe in things you can't see?" "Like what?" Elena kept her eyes forward. "Ghosts? Magic?" "Like instinct." He leaned closer, and she could swear she felt his breath against her ear. That little voice inside you that tells you when danger is near, when someone is watching you, when you're in the presence of something more. Eleanor's heart was pounding now. Her skin felt too tight, too hot. Something stirred in her chest, something that had been sleeping for as long as she could remember, and for one terrifying moment she thought she heard a voice that wasn't her own whisper. Him. It's him. Finally. She shut that voice down with brutal efficiency. "I believe in hard work, Mr. Blackwood." She stood abruptly and turned to face him, refusing to let him loom over her. "I believe in showing up on time, doing my job well, and not letting anyone make me uncomfortable in my workplace." For a moment, Dominic just stared at her. Then he laughed, a real laugh, deep and warm, that transformed his predatory features into something almost human. "You're hired." Eleanor blinked. "What?" "You're hired, Miss Frost. Starting Monday, 8 a.m. sharp." He extended his hand. "Welcome to Blackwood Enterprises." She should have been thrilled. This was everything she'd wanted. Instead, as her hand slid into his, warm, so warm, with calluses she wouldn't expect from a CEO, that voice in her chest purred with satisfaction. "Home," it whispered. "We're finally home." Elena snatched her hand back. Monday, she repeated, her voice perfectly steady despite her racing heart. 8 a.m. I'll be counting the minutes. Dominic's smile was back, that wolf's grin that made her want to run. And Miss Frost, one more thing. She paused at the door. Whatever it is you're hiding from yourself, I'm going to enjoy watching you discover it. Eleanor didn't dignify that with a response. She walked out of that office with her head held high, her steps measured and calm. She didn't run until she reached the elevator. Inside his office, Dominic Blackwood stood at the window, watching the city sprawl beneath him like a kingdom awaiting its queen. His wolf was pacing inside his mind, restless and desperate in a way it hadn't been for 3 centuries. "Mate!" it howled. "She's ours! Claim her!" "Patience," Dominic murmured to himself. "She doesn't know what she is. We have to be careful." But his hands were shaking with the effort of restraint. The moment Elena Frost had walked through his door, everything in him had recognized her. His other half, his perfect match. The one woman in all the world whose soul called to his. The problem was her wolf. It was there. He could smell it, buried deep beneath layers of humanity. Someone had suppressed it, sealed it away so completely that Elena had no idea the power sleeping inside her. She thought she was human. She'd probably lived her entire life feeling wrong, feeling other, never understanding why. His phone buzzed, a message from his beta. "We found something, the orphanage. You need to see this." Dominic's jaw tightened. Whatever secrets Elena Frost was hiding, he would uncover them all, and then he would make her his. But as Dominic pulled up the files his beta had sent, his blood ran cold. The photograph staring back at him was old, faded but unmistakable, a woman with Eleanor's exact features, standing beside the former Alpha King. The caption beneath read, "Princess Sarah of the Silver Moon Pack, declared dead, along with her newborn daughter, 25 years ago." Elena wasn't just any wolf, she was royalty. And the people who'd killed her mother were still out there, searching for the lost princess they'd failed to destroy. Elena arrived at Blackwood Enterprises at exactly 7:45 a.m. on Monday morning, 15 minutes early. Rule number 1, after all. She'd spent the entire weekend trying to convince herself that the strange encounter with Dominic Blackwood had been normal. That the electric feeling when their hands touched was just static, that the voice in her chest whispering home was simply nerves. By Sunday night, she'd almost succeeded. Almost. The 60th floor was quiet when she stepped off the elevator, the reception desk still waiting for its new occupant. Her desk. Elena allowed herself a small smile as she set down her bag and began organizing her workspace. New pens, a fresh notepad, her favorite coffee mug, the chipped one from her first apartment that read, "World's okayest human." The irony of that mug would hit her much later. She was so focused on her task that she didn't hear him approach. One moment she was alone, and the next a shadow fell over her desk. "You're early?" Elena jumped, knocking over her penholder. Dominic stood less than a foot away, dressed in a navy suit that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe, a coffee cup in each hand, and that infuriating smile on his face. "Mr. Blackwood." She scrambled to collect her scattered pens. "I didn't hear you." "Most people don't." He set one of the cups on her desk. "Vanilla latte, with an extra shot. Your favorite, if I'm not mistaken." Elena froze. "How did you know that? I make it my business to know things about my employees, Miss Frost." He leaned against the edge of her desk, entirely too close, entirely too casual. "Especially the ones I find interesting." She pushed the coffee away. "I brought my own, thank you." "Stubborn." His eyes crinkled with amusement. "I expected nothing less." "Mr. Blackwood." "Dominic." "Mr. Blackwood," she repeated firmly. "Perhaps we should establish some boundaries. I'm here to work, nothing more." Something flickered in those golden eyes. challenge, intrigue, maybe even respect. He straightened, adjusting his cufflinks with deliberate casualness. "Very well, Miss Frost. Work it is. My schedule is on your computer. I have a board meeting at 9, lunch with Senator Williams at noon, and a conference call with Tokyo at 3. I'll need the quarterly reports printed and bound by 10, the Wilson contract reviewed by 2, and fresh coffee in my office by continuously." Elena pulled out her notepad and began writing. "Anything else?" "Yes." He leaned down until his lips were inches from her ear, his breath warm against her skin. "Try not to quit before Friday. I have a bet going with my CFO." Eleanor's pen froze mid-word. She turned her head, bringing them face to face, close enough to count the flecks of amber in his golden irises. "I don't quit, Mr. Blackwood," she said coolly, "and I don't appreciate being the subject of office gambling." "Then prove me right." His voice dropped to a register that made her stomach flip. "Survive me, Elena Frost. I dare you." He pulled back abruptly, leaving her feeling like she'd just stepped off a roller coaster. Without another word, he disappeared into his office, the door closing behind him with a decisive click. Elena stared at that door for a full 30 seconds before she allowed herself to breathe. This was going to be a very long week. By noon, Elena had developed a working theory. Dominic Blackwood was not actually a businessman. He was a chaos agent sent specifically to test her patience. The morning had been a masterclass in subtle torment. Every time she entered his office to deliver documents, he found an excuse to brush against her. Every phone call she transferred ended with him asking her opinion on something ridiculous: tie colors, lunch options, whether he should adopt a dog. "I'm thinking something loyal," he'd said during their fourth unnecessary conversation. "Something that doesn't run away when things get complicated." "I'm not qualified to advise on pet ownership, Mr. Blackwood." Aren't you?" His smile had been knowing. "I think you understand loyalty better than most, Miss Frost." She'd fled the office before he could say anything else cryptic. Now, as she prepared for the lunch meeting, Elena found herself reviewing the guest files more aggressively than strictly necessary. Senator Williams, 56, 3 terms, known for environmental legislation and a fondness for expensive wine. "You're going to wear a hole through that paper." Elena didn't look up. "I'm being thorough." Dominic appeared beside her desk, again without making a sound. How did a man that large move so quietly? "Thorough is reviewing a document once," he said. "What you're doing is trying to set it on fire with your eyes." "Maybe I have hidden talents." The words slipped out before she could stop them. Dominic's eyebrows rose, and a genuine laugh escaped him. Not the calculated chuckle she'd heard in meetings, but something real and warm. "Miss Frost," he said, still smiling, "you are full of surprises. Walk with me." The senator can wait. "I want to show you something." It wasn't a request. Eleanor found herself following him to the elevator, which climbed past the 60th floor to a level she hadn't known existed. The doors opened onto a private rooftop garden. Elena gasped. The space was stunning, a hidden oasis 65 floors above Manhattan. Flowers bloomed in carefully tended beds, their fragrance thick in the air. A small fountain bubbled in the corner, and the entire garden was bathed in warm sunlight. "It's beautiful," she whispered before she could stop herself. "I come here when I need to think." Dominic moved to stand beside her, his shoulder almost touching hers. "When the noise of the city becomes too much, and I need to remember what's real." "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you need it." He turned to face her, his expression suddenly serious. "You're wound tighter than a spring, Miss Frost, always on guard, always waiting for the next blow to fall. I recognize that look. I've worn it myself." Elena's walls slammed up so fast she almost staggered. You don't know anything about me. I know you grew up in foster care. I know you've never relied on anyone but yourself. I know you have dreams that terrify you, dreams of running through forests under the moon, dreams where you're something more than human. Her blood turned to ice. How? I know, Dominic continued, stepping closer, because I've spent my entire life searching for someone exactly like you, someone who understands what it means to be different, to be more. I'm not more, Elena said, her voice shaking despite her efforts. I'm just a secretary, a normal, ordinary secretary. No. He reached out, his fingers brushing her cheek so gently she might have imagined it. You're extraordinary, Elena. You just haven't realized it yet. For one terrifying moment, that voice in her chest roared to life. Yes, it cried. He sees us. He knows us. Let him in. Elena stumbled backward. I need to prepare for the lunch meeting. She was in the elevator before he could respond, jabbing the button for the 60th floor with trembling fingers. Her heart raced, her skin burned where he'd touched her, and somewhere deep inside, something ancient and powerful pressed against chains she hadn't known existed. What was happening to her? The rest of the day passed in a blur of forced professionalism. Elena attended the lunch meeting, taking meticulous notes, while Dominic charmed the senator with seemingly effortless ease. She handled the Tokyo conference call, managed 3 minor crises, and filed every document with ruthless efficiency. And through it all, she felt Dominic's eyes on her, watching, waiting, like he was expecting something to happen. By 6 o'clock, Elena was exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with the workload. She gathered her things with mechanical precision, desperate to escape to her apartment and the blessed normalcy of her 2 cats and her microwave dinner. Leaving so soon? She didn't turn around. My shift ended an hour ago. Dedicated. She heard him moving closer. Another thing I admire about you. Mr. Blackwood. Eleanor spun to face him, all the frustration of the day boiling over. Why are you doing this? Why the attention, the coffee, the rooftop garden? I'm your secretary. I'm nobody. You're not nobody. His voice dropped, intense and almost hurt. Don't you understand that? Can't you feel it? Feel what? This, he gestured between them. This connection. Every time you enter a room, the air changes. Every time you speak, something in me settles. I've waited 300 years. He stopped abruptly, as if he'd said too much. 300 years? Elena laughed, but it came out strangled. What are you talking about? Dominic's jaw tightened. He looked away toward the darkening windows, and for a moment she could have sworn his eyes glowed brighter. Forget I said anything. Go home, Miss Frost. Rest. Tomorrow will be illuminating. Elena wanted to demand answers. She wanted to shake him until he made sense. Instead, she grabbed her bag and walked away, because staying felt dangerous in ways she couldn't explain. The elevator doors closed between them, and Elena sagged against the wall. 300 years. It was impossible. He was clearly insane. And yet that voice in her chest, that stupid, impossible voice whispered, he's not lying. He's been waiting for us, and soon we'll understand why. But as Dominic watched the elevator descend, a figure emerged from the shadows of his office, a woman with silver-white hair and eyes like ice, wearing a smile that promised nothing but cruelty. "Hello, Dominic," she purred. "Did you really think you could hide her forever? The hunters know the princess survived, and they're coming for her." Before Dominic could react, she vanished into thin air, leaving behind only the lingering scent of blood and betrayal. The hunt for Elena had begun. Tuesday morning began with war. Elena had decided, somewhere between her 3rd cup of coffee and her morning commute, that Dominic Blackwood would not get under her skin again. She'd built an impenetrable wall of professionalism, armed herself with clipped responses and neutral expressions, and walked into Blackwood Enterprises ready for battle. She found a bouquet of wildflowers on her desk. Not roses, that would have been too obvious, too cliché. These were wild things, flowers that looked like they'd been plucked from a moonlit meadow. Lavender and something silver she didn't recognize, arranged with careless beauty. The card read simply, "To brighten your morning. D." Elena picked up the bouquet and marched directly to Dominic's office. He was on the phone when she entered, but his eyes lit up immediately. He held up one finger, "Wait," and continued his conversation about quarterly projections, as if a furious woman wasn't glaring daggers at him. Elena set the flowers on his desk with deliberate force. "I'll call you back," Dominic said into the phone, hanging up without waiting for a response. "Miss Frost, you don't like flowers? I don't like whatever game you're playing." Game. He leaned back in his chair, the picture of innocence. "I simply noticed you seemed stressed yesterday. Flowers have been scientifically proven to improve mood and productivity. Sending flowers to your secretary is inappropriate, is it?" He stood, circling his desk to stand before her. "I send them to my CFO all the time. He prefers sunflowers." Eleanor opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. She had no idea if he was joking. Dominic's smile widened. "Tell you what, Miss Frost, if flowers offend you, I'll find another way to show my appreciation. Perhaps chocolate, concert tickets, a small island off the coast of Greece." "Stop." "Stop what?" His voice dropped, and suddenly the teasing edge was gone, replaced by something raw and serious. "Stop noticing you? Stop wanting to see you smile? Stop fighting every instinct I have to—" He cut himself off, jaw tightening. "To what?" Elena demanded, even as her heart hammered against her ribs. Dominic held her gaze for a long moment. Then he laughed softly and stepped back, the mask of playfulness sliding back into place. "To give you a raise. You're far too valuable to lose to our competitors." He returned to his chair. "Keep the flowers, Miss Frost, or throw them away. But just know I don't give up easily." Elena grabbed the bouquet and stalked back to her desk. She told herself the flowers ended up in her apartment that night because it would be wasteful to throw them away. She almost believed it. Wednesday brought coffee. Not just any coffee. A different specialty drink appeared on her desk every hour, each with a note. 8 a.m. vanilla latte. I remembered. 9 a.m. caramel macchiato, in case you wanted something sweeter. 10 a.m. hot chocolate with whipped cream, for when work feels impossible. 11 a.m. green tea, for when you need calm. By noon, Elena's desk looked like a cafe exploded on it. She was also, despite her best efforts, completely charmed. "You're insane," she told Dominic when she brought him his schedule for the afternoon. "Certified," he agreed cheerfully. "I have the paperwork somewhere. This is harassment. This is courtship." His eyes sparkled. "There's a difference. Courtship implies I'm interested. Aren't you?" The question hung between them, suddenly serious. Elena felt heat rise to her cheeks and cursed her fair skin. "I'm interested in doing my job," she managed. Dominic stood and walked toward her, slow and deliberate. "Then why do you blush every time I look at you? Why does your heart race when I get close?" He paused, tilting his head. "Why do you hold your breath when I say your name, Elena?" The way he said her name, like it was something precious, something sacred, made her knees weak. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Liar!" But he smiled when he said it, warm and almost tender. "It's okay. I can be patient." "Patient for what?" "For you to stop fighting this." He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was so gentle, so unexpectedly sweet, that Elena forgot to pull away. "For you to realize that some things are worth the risk." His fingers lingered on her cheek for just a moment. Then he stepped back, clearing his throat. "I have a meeting in 5 minutes. Can you push back my 3 o'clock? The shift back to business was so abrupt that Eleanor felt whiplash. Yes, of course." She fled to her desk, pressing her hands to her burning cheeks. What was happening to her? She didn't react to men like this. She didn't blush or stammer or feel like her entire body was vibrating with electricity. She was practical, sensible, boring. But Dominic Blackwood made her feel anything but boring. Thursday started quietly, which should have been Eleanor's first warning. No flowers, no coffee parade, no Dominic materializing beside her desk with that infuriating smile, just silence and a closed office door. Elena told herself she was relieved. She was lying. By lunch, curiosity got the better of her. She knocked on his door with his schedule for the afternoon, half expecting to find him plotting his next romantic offensive. Instead, she found him standing at the window, tension visible in every line of his body. "Mr. Blackwood, is everything all right?" He didn't turn around. "Everything is fine, Miss Frost. You don't look fine." Now he did turn, and Elena caught her breath. His golden eyes were almost glowing. His jaw was clenched so tight she could see the muscles jumping. He looked like a man fighting a war with himself. "I'm handling it," he said through gritted teeth. "Handling what?" "You should go, Elena." His voice was strained. "Please." She should have listened. Any sensible person would have left. Instead, Elena found herself walking toward him. "What's wrong?" "Don't." He held up a hand, and she could see it was trembling. "Don't come any closer. I'm trying very hard to maintain control right now, and you being near me makes that extremely difficult." "Control of what?" Dominic laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Of the part of me that wants to lock that door and never let you leave. Of the instinct that screams at me to claim you, to mark you, to make sure no other man ever looks at you again." Elena's breath caught. You can't. I know." He turned back to the window, his shoulders rigid. "I know it's insane. I know you think I'm crazy, but there are things about me, Elena, things I can't explain. Not yet. Not until you're ready." "Ready for what?" He was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. "Ready to find out what you really are." The words hit Elena like a physical blow. That voice inside her, the one she'd spent her whole life suppressing, suddenly roared to life with such force that she staggered. "Yes!" it screamed. "Finally! He knows. He can help us." "I need to go," Elena gasped, backing toward the door. "Elena!" But she was already gone, practically running to her desk, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Her hands were shaking. Her skin felt too tight, like something underneath was trying to break free. She grabbed her purse and fled the building. She didn't stop running until she reached Central Park, collapsing onto a bench as the sun began to set. Her breath came in ragged gasps, and tears she didn't understand streamed down her face. What was happening to her? What was she becoming? And why did every cell in her body scream that Dominic Blackwood was the only one who could give her answers? Cliffhanger. Elena didn't notice the man watching her from the shadows of the trees. Didn't notice his silver eyes tracking her every movement or the cruel smile that curved his lips. "Found you," he whispered into his phone. "The lost princess of Silver Moon. She has no idea what she is. No idea that her wolf is about to wake up." He paused, listening. "Yes, I'll bring her in, dead or alive, your choice." He ended the call and began to move toward her, pulling a syringe from his pocket. The hunters had found their prey. The attack came without warning. One moment, Elena was sitting on the park bench, trying to catch her breath. The next, a hand clamped over her mouth and a needle pierced her neck. She fought. God, she fought like her life depended on it. Because it did. Her elbow connected with something solid, and she heard a grunt of pain. Her heel came down hard on an instep. She twisted, bit, clawed at the arms restraining her. but the drug was already spreading through her veins, making her limbs heavy and her vision blur. "Feisty little thing," a voice growled in her ear. "Just like your mother was. Didn't save her either." My mother? The words cut through the fog in Elena's mind. She'd never known her mother, had never known anything about where she came from. "Who?" she tried to ask, but her tongue felt thick and useless. "Don't worry, Princess. You'll find out everything soon enough, right before you die." Princess? Something inside Elena snapped. It wasn't the drug. It wasn't fear. It was something else entirely, something ancient and furious that had been sleeping her entire life and chose this moment, this exact moment, to wake up. "Mine," a voice roared inside her head. "Not prey. Predator." Heat exploded through her body. Every nerve ending ignited. The weakness from the drug burned away in an instant, replaced by strength she'd never known she possessed. Her attacker flew backward as if he'd been hit by a truck. Elena stood on shaking legs, her vision suddenly sharper than it had ever been. Colors were more vivid. Sounds were clearer. She could hear the man's heartbeat, could smell his fear as he stared at her with wide eyes. "Impossible," he breathed. The seal should have held—" "What seal?" Elena's voice came out strange, deeper, almost a growl. The man scrambled to his feet and ran. Elena watched him go, too stunned to chase. Her hands were trembling, but not from fear, from power, from something massive and wild trying to claw its way out of her skin. "Elena!" She spun around, and there was Dominic, emerging from the shadows like he'd materialized from thin air. His eyes were blazing gold, brighter than she'd ever seen them, and his face was a mask of barely contained fury. "Are you hurt?" he demanded, crossing the distance between them in 3 long strides. His hands cupped her face, tilting it to examine her neck where the needle had pierced. "That bastard! I'll kill him! I'll tear him apart! What's happening to me?" Elena grabbed his wrists, holding on like he was the only solid thing in a world gone mad. "What did he mean, Princess? What seal? Dominic, what am I?" His expression softened, anguish replacing fury. "I wanted to tell you differently. I wanted to give you time." "Time for what?" "To understand." He pulled her closer, wrapping his arms around her like he could shield her from the world. "Elena, you're not human. You never were." She should have pulled away, should have laughed in his face and walked away. But that voice inside her, the one that had saved her life moments ago, purred with satisfaction at his touch. "That's insane," she whispered. "Is it?" He pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. "Think about it. The heightened senses, the dreams of running through forests, the way you've always felt different, like you didn't belong in your own skin." Every word hit home with devastating accuracy. "What am I?" she asked again, her voice barely audible. "You're a wolf, Elena. A werewolf. One of us." He paused, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her cheek. "And not just any wolf. You're the lost princess of the Silver Moon Pack, one of the most powerful bloodlines in existence. Someone sealed your wolf when you were a baby, hid you among humans to protect you from the people who murdered your family." The world tilted. Elena would have fallen if Dominic hadn't been holding her. "That's not possible." "It is." His voice was achingly gentle. "Your wolf has been sleeping your entire life, Elena, but she's waking up now. That's what you felt just now, her breaking through the seal." As if in response, something shifted inside her. Not painfully, but noticeably, like a creature stretching after a very long nap. "Hello?" a voice whispered in her mind. "I've been waiting for you." Elena gasped. "I can hear. There's a voice. Your wolf." Dominic smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. "She's been there all along, trying to reach you. The seal kept her silent, but now that it's cracking—" "Now that it's cracking, what?" "Now you'll finally become who you were always meant to be." Eleanor's mind raced. Werewolves, princesses, seals, and murdered families. It was insane, it was impossible, and yet it explained everything. The dreams, the instincts, the way she'd always felt like she was waiting for something, or someone, without knowing what. "The man who attacked me," she said slowly. "He called me princess. He said I was going to die like my mother." Dominic's expression darkened. "The hunters. They're the ones who destroyed your pack 25 years ago. Killed every man, woman, and child except you. Someone smuggled you out, sealed your wolf, and placed you in a human orphanage where you'd be invisible." "Why? Why would anyone do that?" "Because you're the last of your bloodline, Elena. The Silver Moon Pack was one of the oldest, most powerful in existence. Your blood carries magic that the hunters want to control or destroy." She should have been terrified. She should have been running. Instead, she felt something else entirely. Rage. "They killed my family," she said quietly. "My mother. My entire pack." "Yes." "And now they're coming for me." "Yes." Dominic's hands tightened on her waist. "But they'll have to go through me first. Through my entire pack. Elena, I know this is a lot. I know you're scared, but you're not alone anymore. You have me." "Why?" She searched his face. "Why do you care so much? We barely know each other." The question hung between them. Dominic hesitated, as if weighing his next words carefully. "In our world," he said slowly, "there's a bond that exists between certain wolves. A connection that transcends logic or choice. When two souls are meant to be together, they recognize each other instantly. They're drawn to each other like magnets. They're called fated mates." Elena's breath caught. "And you think we're—" "I don't think, Elena." He cupped her face in his hands, his golden eyes burning with intensity. "I know. The moment you walked into my office, my wolf recognized you. You're my mate, my other half, the one I've been searching for across 3 centuries. 300 years, she whispered, remembering what he'd said before. "You really meant that?" "I really meant it." The voice inside her, her wolf, hummed with satisfaction. "Mate," it confirmed. "Ours, finally." "This is insane," Elena said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Completely." Dominic smiled. "But wonderful things often are." He lowered his forehead to hers, and for a moment they just breathed together. Elena felt something slot into place inside her, like a puzzle piece she hadn't known was missing. It was terrifying. It was impossible. It was also, somehow, exactly right. But the moment was shattered by Dominic's phone buzzing urgently. He answered, listened, and his face went pale, something Elena hadn't thought possible for a man like him. "How many?" he asked tersely. Then, "Get everyone to safety. Now." He hung up and grabbed Elena's hand. "We need to go. The hunters aren't just coming for you anymore." His jaw tightened with fury. "They're attacking my pack. And if we don't get there in time, everyone I love will die." They ran through the city like their lives depended on it, because they did. Elena had never moved so fast. Her legs carried her at speeds that should have been impossible, her new enhanced senses guiding her through crowds and across streets without missing a step. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. "This is what we were made for," her wolf whispered. "Running, hunting, fighting." "Where are we going?" Elena gasped, as Dominic led her into an underground parking garage. "My territory." He stopped beside a matte black motorcycle that looked like it cost more than her annual salary. "The pack compound is in the Hudson Valley. It's supposed to be hidden, protected by ancient magic." His jaw tightened. Someone betrayed us. He swung onto the bike and held out his hand. Elena hesitated for only a moment before taking it, settling behind him and wrapping her arms around his waist. Even in the midst of chaos, her wolf purred at the contact. "Hold on," Dominic said, and then they were flying. The motorcycle roared through Manhattan traffic, weaving between cars with inhuman precision. Elena buried her face against Dominic's back, feeling the power coiled in his muscles, the steady beat of his heart despite the danger. He felt safe, solid, like an anchor in a storm. How could she trust him so completely after only days? "Because he's ours," her wolf answered simply. "He would die before he let anything hurt us." They left the city behind, trading skyscrapers for trees as they headed north. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of blood and gold, an ominous backdrop for what lay ahead. After what felt like hours, Dominic pulled off the main road onto a hidden path that wound through dense forest. The trees here were ancient, their branches forming a canopy so thick it blocked out the dying light. And then Elena saw it. The compound wasn't what she'd expected. No castles or mansions, just a collection of buildings that seemed to grow organically from the forest itself. Wooden structures with green roofs connected by paths of natural stone. It looked like a village from another time, a village currently under siege. Smoke rose from several buildings. The sounds of fighting echoed through the trees, snarls and howls and the sharp crack of gunfire. Bodies littered the ground, both human and wolf. "No," Dominic breathed. He was off the bike before it fully stopped, shifting mid-stride in a way that made Elena's brain short-circuit. One moment he was a man, and the next he was a massive black wolf, larger than any natural animal, his fur gleaming like obsidian in the fading light. He didn't look back. He couldn't. His pack was dying. Elena stood frozen for a single heartbeat. She didn't know how to fight, didn't know how to shift. She was useless here. "No," her wolf growled. "We are not useless. We are the daughter of Silver Moon. Our pack died fighting. We will not dishonor them by cowering." Something shifted inside her. Not a full transformation. Her wolf was still too weak for that, but enough. Her senses sharpened further, her muscles coiled with power, her fear transformed into something colder, more useful, rage. She ran toward the fighting. The scene was chaos. Wolves battled against humans armed with silver weapons, swords, bullets, daggers that gleamed with deadly intent. The hunters were organized, efficient, wearing tactical gear and moving with military precision. But the wolves were fighting for their home, their family, their lives. Elena spotted a hunter aiming a silver-tipped crossbow at a smaller wolf, barely more than a pup, and moved without thinking. She grabbed a fallen branch and swung it with all her newfound strength, connecting with the hunter's skull with a sickening crack. He went down, didn't get back up. The pup looked at her with wide golden eyes, then bounded away to find shelter. Elena didn't have time to process what she'd done before another hunter was on her. This one was bigger, faster, armed with a silver knife that he wielded with expert precision. Elena ducked and dodged, her body moving on instinct alone, but she knew she was outmatched. "The princess," the hunter sneered, recognition flashing in his eyes. "Thought you could hide forever? Your mother screamed when we killed her, begged for your life right before we—" He didn't finish the sentence. A massive black wolf slammed into him from the side, jaws closing around his throat with brutal efficiency. Dominic, his golden eyes blazing with fury, stood over the body for just a moment before turning to Elena. "Are you hurt?" The words appeared in her mind, not spoken, but felt. "I'm fine," she said aloud. "How did you—" "Mates can communicate mind to mind. Later. Now we fight." He bounded back into the fray, and Elena followed, armed with nothing but her rage and her branch, and the sleeping wolf inside her that grew stronger with every passing moment. The battle seemed to last forever. Elena fought until her arms ached, and her makeshift weapons splintered. She watched wolves fall and hunters die. She saw courage that took her breath away, a mother shielding her children with her own body, an elderly wolf taking down 3 hunters before finally succumbing to silver poisoning. And through it all, she felt Dominic. His presence was a constant warmth in her mind, checking on her even as he tore through enemies like they were made of paper. Finally, the tide turned. The remaining hunters retreated into the forest, chased by wolves howling with victory and grief. The compound fell quiet, except for the moans of the wounded and the crackling of dying fires. Dominic shifted back to human form, naked and covered in blood that wasn't his. He didn't seem to notice or care. His eyes found Elena across the battlefield, and the relief on his face was almost painful to witness. He crossed to her in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. "You're alive," he breathed against her hair. "You're alive. You're alive. You're alive." "I'm alive," she confirmed, her voice shaking. "Dominic, your pack, we lost people." His voice was hollow. "Good people. But we survived. Because you came. Because you fought. I barely did anything." He pulled back to look at her, and his expression was fierce. "You saved Jonas, the pup. He's the son of my beta. You saved him, Elena. That's not nothing." Before she could respond, a voice cut through the night. "Alpha." A woman approached, tall, regal, with silver-streaked hair and sharp green eyes. She was wounded, her arm hanging at an angle that made Elena wince, but she moved with authority. "Miriam." Dominic released Elena, but kept one hand on her lower back. "Casualties?" 17 dead, 30 wounded. They came out of nowhere, Alpha. The wards didn't even—" She stopped, her eyes landing on Eleanor, her nostrils flared. Is she—" "Eleanor Frost," Dominic said formally. "Lost Princess of Silver Moon, my fated mate." The silence that followed was deafening. Then Miriam did something unexpected. She dropped to one knee, bowing her head. "Welcome home, Princess. We've been waiting for you." One by one, the surviving wolves followed suit, battered, bloody, grieving, and yet they knelt before Elena like she was something precious, something sacred. "I don't understand," Elena whispered. Dominic's hand tightened on her back. "The Silver Moon bloodline is special, Elena. Your ancestors were the first wolves, blessed by the moon goddess herself. Your blood carries power that our kind hasn't seen in centuries." "What kind of power?" Miriam raised her head, her green eyes bright with something like hope. "The power to unite all the packs," she said, "to end the war with the hunters once and for all. You're not just a princess, child." She smiled, fierce and proud. "You're the prophesied queen." Elena's head was spinning. Queen? Prophecy? Before she could process any of it, a young wolf came running, panic written across his face. "Alpha, the hunters, they left a message." He held up a blood-stained piece of paper with trembling hands. Dominic snatched it and read, his face going deathly still. Without a word, he passed it to Elena. The message was simple, written in what she sickeningly realized was wolf blood. "Surrender the princess by the full moon, or we release the ancient. Your choice, Alpha King. Her life, or the extinction of your entire species." The full moon was in 3 days. The pack's makeshift infirmary was chaos. Wounded wolves lay on every available surface, their bodies fighting to heal from silver poisoning. The air smelled of blood and herbs, and something Elena's newly awakened senses identified as fear. She should have been helping, should have been doing something useful. Instead, she sat in Dominic's study, staring at the hunter's message, while her mind tried to reject everything she'd learned. The ancient. Extinction. 3 days. It's a lot to process. Elena looked up to find Dominium standing in the doorway, now dressed in clean clothes, though exhaustion lined his face. He crossed to sit beside her on the leather couch, close enough that their shoulders touched. "Tell me about the ancient," she said quietly. He was silent for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with the weight of centuries. In the beginning, there weren't just werewolves. There were other things, older things, created before the moon goddess blessed our kind. The ancients were among them, creatures of pure destruction, born from chaos itself. He paused. They were supposed to be extinct, killed in a war so long ago that most wolves consider them myth. But they're not extinct. The hunters have one. They've had it for centuries, apparently, locked away in some kind of magical prison. If they release it... He trailed off, but Eleanor saw the answer in his eyes. Everyone dies. Not just werewolves. Humans, too. The ancients don't discriminate. They consume everything in their path. Elena set down the message. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. Something had settled inside her, a cold, clear certainty that surprised her. Then we don't let them release it. Dominic turned to look at her. Elena! They want me, right? That's the price. My life for everyone else's. No. The word came out like a growl. Absolutely not. Dominic, I said no. He grabbed her hands, his grip almost painful. I waited 300 years for you. I am not losing you now. Not to hunters, not to prophecies, not to anything. There has to be another way. What other way? Eleanor pulled her hands free and stood, pacing to the window. Outside, wolves were gathering the dead, preparing for funerals that would happen at midnight. 17 of your people died tonight because of me. How many more have to die before... This isn't your fault, isn't it? She spun to face him. They came here looking for me. If I'd never existed, then I would have spent another 3 centuries alone. He rose and crossed to her, framing her face with his hands. Elena, listen to me. The hunters have been at war with our kind for thousands of years. They didn't start hunting us because of you. You're just their excuse, their leverage. Then why me? Why is my blood so special? The question had been burning inside her since Miriam called her the prophesied queen. Dominic hesitated, and she saw the conflict in his eyes. Tell me, she demanded. I deserve to know. He released her face and moved to his desk, pulling out an ancient leather-bound book. The pages were yellow with age, covered in writing Elena didn't recognize. The moon goddess created werewolves to protect the balance between worlds, he said, opening to a specific page. She chose 7 original wolves, the alphas of the first packs, and blessed them with her power, but one wolf was special. He turned the book to show her an illustration, a white wolf standing beneath a full moon, silver light pouring from her eyes. Luna Prima, Dominic continued, the first Luna, the moon goddess's direct descendant. Her blood was different from the others. It carried the goddess's own power, power over the moon itself, power to heal, to destroy, to command every wolf in existence. Elena stared at the illustration. The white wolf seemed to stare back. And I'm related to her? You're her last living descendant? The Silver Moon Pack was founded by Luna Prima's children. For thousands of years, your bloodline was protected, revered, until 25 years ago, when the hunters discovered what your blood could do. What can it do? Dominic closed the book. It can wake the ancient, or it can kill it. Your blood is the key to both, and that's why the hunters want you. They've been trying to control the ancient for centuries. With your blood, they could bind it to their will, create an unstoppable weapon. And if they can't control me, then they'll kill you to make sure no one can stop them when they release it. Elena sank onto the edge of his desk, her mind reeling. A week ago, she'd been a normal secretary worried about spreadsheets and coffee orders. Now, she was apparently the key to preventing the apocalypse. This is insane, she whispered. I know. Dominic knelt before her, taking her hands again. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry you were dragged into this world. I'm sorry your family was taken from you. I'm sorry that the fate of our entire species rests on your shoulders when you've barely had time to accept what you are. His golden eyes were so earnest, so full of pain on her behalf, that Elena felt something crack inside her. "It's not your fault either," she said softly. "You didn't choose this any more than I did." "No, but I chose you." He pressed a kiss to her knuckles. "And I will spend the rest of my very long life making sure you never regret being found." The voice inside her, her wolf, purred with contentment. "See, he is worthy, he is ours." Elena didn't fight it this time. Instead, she leaned forward and pressed her forehead to his, breathing in his scent of pine and something wild. "What do we do now?" she asked. "Now we prepare. The full moon is in 3 days. By then, you need to learn to shift." "I don't know how." "I'll teach you." He pulled back, a hint of his usual playfulness returning to his eyes. "Fair warning, it's going to hurt. Everything seems to hurt lately." "True." He stood, pulling her up with him. "But here's the thing about pain, Elena. It means you're still alive, still fighting, and as long as you're fighting, there's hope." Before she could respond, there was a knock at the door. Miriam entered, her arm now in a proper sling. "Alpha, the council is gathering. They've heard about the princess." Dominic's expression hardened. "Already?" "News travels fast when the fate of our species is involved." Miriam's eyes flicked to Elena. "They want to meet her, and they want to know what you plan to do about the Hunter's ultimatum." "Then I suppose we shouldn't keep them waiting." Dominic offered Elena his arm. "Ready to meet werewolf royalty? Is anyone ever ready for something like that?" He smiled, and for a moment the weight of the world seemed lighter. "No," he admitted, "but you'll do brilliantly anyway." Elena took his arm, squared her shoulders, and walked toward whatever came next. The council chamber was filled with the most powerful wolves in the world. Kings and queens from every major pack gathered to decide her fate. But as Elena entered, she saw one face that made her blood freeze. At the head of the table sat a woman with silver hair and cruel eyes, the same woman who had appeared in Dominic's office, the same woman who had warned him the hunters were coming. She smiled at Elena, a smile full of poison and secrets. "Welcome, little princess," she purred. "I've been waiting a very long time to meet you. After all, I'm the one who killed your mother." The words hung in the air like poison. "I'm the one who killed your mother." Elena felt the world narrow to a single point. The silver-haired woman's smiling face, everything else, the council chamber, the gathered wolves, Dominic's hand on her arm, faded to nothing. "What did you say?" Her voice came out strange, cold. The woman's smile widened. "I said, I killed your mother, Sarah of Silver Moon. She died beautifully, you know, begging for your life right until the end." Something inside Elena snapped. She didn't think, didn't plan. One moment she was standing beside Dominic, and the next she was lunging across the table, her hands reaching for the woman's throat. "Elena, no!" Dominic caught her mid-leap, his arms banding around her waist like steel. She thrashed against him, a snarl tearing from her throat that didn't sound human. "Let us go!" her wolf howled. "She killed our mother. She dies." "Let me go," Elena hissed. "She's baiting you." Dominic's voice was steady despite the chaos erupting around them. "This is exactly what she wants." "I don't care." The silver-haired woman laughed, the sound like breaking glass. "Such fire! I can see why you want her, Dominic, but really keeping her on a leash, how disappointing." "Enough, Lydia." Another voice cut through the chamber, deep, authoritative. An older man with iron-grey hair and a scar that ran from his temple to his jaw rose from his seat. "You've made your point. Now sit down before I forget we're supposed to be civilized." Lydia's eyes flashed with irritation, but she settled back into her chair. "Always so serious, Victor. I was just having fun." "Fun?" Victor's lip curled with disgust. He turned to Dominic. "Alpha King, Perhaps you'd like to explain why you've brought an untested, unsealed wolf into a council meeting, one who apparently wants to murder one of our members? Dominic released Elena slowly, his hand remaining on her lower back, a warning and a comfort. With respect, Alpha Victor, Princess Elena has every right to want Lydia dead. The Silver Moon massacre was a war crime that this council never properly addressed. The massacre was a tragedy, another voice chimed in, a beautiful woman with dark skin and golden eyes. But Lydia was never formally charged. Without proof. Without proof? Elena's voice shook with fury. She just confessed. Confessed to what? Lydia examined her nails with theatrical boredom. I said I killed her mother. I didn't say I broke any laws. Sarah challenged me to single combat. She lost. That's not murder. That's the wolf way. You're lying. Elena's hands were trembling. My mother wouldn't have challenged you. She had a newborn baby. She wouldn't have left you behind. Lydia's smile was cruel. Oh, sweetling. She didn't have a choice. I told her I'd kill you if she didn't fight. And then, after she died, I killed everyone else anyway. She shrugged. Oops. The chamber erupted. Wolves shouted over each other, some demanding Lydia's head, others calling for order. Elena stood frozen, her wolf howling with rage inside her mind, while the truth of her mother's death crashed over her like a wave. Sarah had died protecting her, had fought an impossible battle because she thought it might save her daughter. And Lydia had laughed and slaughtered everyone anyway. Silence! The command came from Dominic, his alpha voice rolling through the chamber with enough power to make every wolf present flinch. Even Lydia straightened in her chair. The princess is not here to discuss the past, Dominic continued, his voice deadly calm. She's here because the hunters have given us an ultimatum. Surrender her by the full moon, or they release the ancient. The room went deathly quiet. Victor's face paled. The ancient? That's impossible. It's been contained for centuries, yes, but they have it, and they will use it. Dominic's jaw tightened. Unless we find another way. What other way? The dark-skinned woman asked. If they release the ancient, it will destroy everything. Werewolves, humans, the entire world. Elena's blood can kill it, Dominic said. Every eye in the room turned to her. The princess carries Luna Prima's bloodline, he continued. Her blood is the only weapon that can destroy an ancient. If we can wake her wolf fully, train her to use her power, we might have a chance. In 3 days? Victor shook his head. Impossible. It takes months for a sealed wolf to fully awaken, years to master that kind of power. Then we'll have to be creative. Or, Lydia said sweetly, we could just hand her over, save ourselves the trouble. Elena's wolf snarled. Dominic's hand on her back was the only thing keeping her from launching across the table again. If anyone in this room suggests sacrificing my mate again, Dominic said quietly, I will consider it a declaration of war. The threat landed with devastating impact. Several wolves shifted uncomfortably. Lydia's smile faltered. Your mate? Victor looked between them, understanding dawning. She's your fated mate. Yes. Well, the scarred alpha leaned back in his chair. That changes things. How? Elena demanded, finding her voice. What difference does it make who I'm mated to? Everything, child. It was the dark-skinned woman who answered. A fated bond is sacred. The moon goddess herself creates it. If Dominic claims you as his mate, you become queen of his pack. Any attack on you is an attack on all of us. More importantly, Victor added, the mate bond can accelerate a wolf's awakening. If your wolves recognize each other, truly recognize each other, your powers could unlock faster than any normal timeline. Eleanor felt Dominic's hand tighten on her back. When she looked at him, his expression was carefully neutral, but something burned in his golden eyes. We haven't completed the bond, she said slowly. We know. Lydia's smile was back. Which means she's still vulnerable, still unclaimed, still fair game. She is claimed, Dominic growled. My wolf recognized her the moment she walked into my office. The formal bond is just a formality. Is it? Victor studied them both. Then complete it. Tonight. Show us that the bond is real and the council will pledge our packs to your war. Elena's heart stuttered. Complete it? What does that mean? The silence that followed was loaded with significance. It means, Dominic said carefully, that you and I would need to fully accept the mate bond. Your wolf would need to recognize me as her mate, and I would mark you as mine. It's permanent, Elena. Unbreakable. And if I don't, then the council cannot guarantee protection. You would remain a political asset, not a queen. Victor's voice was not unkind. The choice is yours, Princess. But you should know, refusing the bond will not save you from the hunters. It will only leave you more vulnerable. Elena looked around the chamber at the watching wolves, some hostile, some sympathetic, all waiting for her answer. Then she looked at Dominic. He was trying so hard to hide it, but she could see the fear in his eyes. Not fear of the hunters or the ancient, fear that she would reject him, that after 3 centuries of waiting he would lose her not to death, but to her own choice. Can you feel it? Her wolf asked quietly. The bond, it's been there since the beginning. All you have to do is accept it. Elena thought about her life, the foster homes, the loneliness, the constant feeling that something was missing. She thought about Dominic, his infuriating smirk, his ridiculous coffee deliveries, the way he looked at her like she was the most precious thing in his world. She thought about her mother, who died fighting for her. Okay, she heard herself say, let's complete the bond. Cliffhanger. Dominic's eyes flared golden with hope and hunger, but before he could respond, the chamber doors burst open. A young wolf stumbled in, bloody and gasping. Alpha! Hunters! They've taken the children, all of them! They left a new message! He collapsed, the paper falling from his hand. Victor picked it up, read it, and his face went grey. They've moved up the deadline, he said hoarsely. We have until midnight tomorrow, and if we don't surrender the princess— He couldn't finish. He didn't need to. The message was written in children's blood. The pack compound descended into controlled chaos. Wolves scattered to prepare for war. Council members argued strategy. Parents of the missing children had to be physically restrained from charging after the hunters alone. Through it all, Elena stood in the eye of the storm, her mind racing. 23 children, taken as leverage, because of her. This isn't your fault. She didn't turn at Dominic's voice. They stood in his private quarters now, away from the chaos, but Elena felt no peace. Isn't it? No. He moved to stand behind her, not touching, but close enough that she felt his warmth. The hunters have been planning this for 25 years. You're not the cause of their evil, Elena. You're the solution to it. Some solution. I can't even shift yet. That's why we're going to change that. Tonight. Now she did turn. Dominic's expression was intense, focused, a man with a mission. Victor was right about the mate bond, he continued. When 2 fated wolves complete their bond, power flows between them. Strengths are shared, weaknesses compensated for. Your wolf has been sealed for 25 years, but if we complete the bond, my strength can help break through those chains. And then what? Then we rescue the children, kill the hunters, destroy the ancient. His lips quirked. Save the world, the usual. Despite everything, Elena felt a laugh bubble up in her chest. You make it sound so simple. It is simple, not easy, but simple. He stepped closer, cupping her face in his hands. Eleanor, I need you to understand something. The mate bond isn't just a tactical advantage. It's forever. Once we complete it, we'll be connected for the rest of our lives. If I die, you'll feel it. If you die— He swallowed. I won't survive it. That's not exactly a selling point. No, but it's the truth. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I won't force this on you. If you're not ready, Dominic. She put her hands over his. I spent my entire life feeling incomplete, like part of me was missing, and then I met you, and for the first time, everything made sense. She took a breath. I'm terrified, but I'm not uncertain. His eyes blazed gold. Elena, show me how to complete the bond. For a moment, he just looked at her, like he couldn't believe she was real. Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. Couldn't be, with 3 centuries of longing behind it. His lips claimed hers with fierce desperation, his hands tangling in her hair as he pulled her close. Elena's wolf howled with joy. Yes, finally, ours. She kissed him back with equal intensity, her fingers gripping his shirt like he might disappear. Heat flooded through her. Not just desire, but something deeper, something that felt like coming home. When they finally broke apart, both gasping, Dominic's eyes had gone fully gold. To complete the bond, he said, his voice rough, we need to mark each other. Bite marks that break the skin and leave permanent scars. They're symbols of our connection, visible proof that we belong to each other. Where? Here. He touched the curve where her neck met her shoulder. Where everyone can see. Elena's heart hammered. And I mark you too. Yes, the bond is equal. We belong to each other, neither above the other. She thought about that. About centuries of loneliness, of feeling like she didn't belong anywhere. About finally having someone who chose her, not because of her blood or her powers, but because his soul recognized hers. Let's do it. Dominic's response was to kiss her again, deeper this time, with intent. His hands slid down her sides, pulling her flush against him. She could feel his heart pounding against hers, could feel the barely contained power vibrating through his body. When I bite you, he murmured against her lips, you might feel my wolf. Don't be afraid, he's been waiting for you. And when I bite you, then I'll finally be complete. He tilted her head to the side, exposing her neck. His lips traced a path from her ear to her shoulder, and Elena shivered. This is it, her wolf whispered. This is what we were made for. Dominic's teeth grazed her skin. Ready? Yes. He bit down. Pain exploded through her, sharp, burning, overwhelming. But beneath the pain was something else, a flood of sensation that wasn't her own. She felt Dominic, not just his teeth in her flesh, but his emotions, his joy, his relief, his overwhelming love that had built across 3 centuries of waiting. She felt his wolf too, a massive presence, wild and powerful, pressing against her consciousness with fierce affection. Mine, it rumbled. Finally, mine. And then something broke inside her. The seal that had contained her wolf for 25 years shattered like glass. Power surged through her veins, silver and brilliant, and absolutely devastating. Her wolf, no longer dormant, rose with a howl that echoed through her entire being. Awake, it roared. We are awake. Dominic released her neck and pulled back, his expression awestruck. Elena, your eyes! She caught her reflection in the window and gasped. Her eyes were glowing silver, bright as moonlight. My wolf, she breathed. I can feel her. She's beautiful. Dominic's voice was reverent. You're beautiful. Now mark me. Complete the bond. He tilted his head, offering his neck with absolute trust. Elena's wolf surged forward eagerly. She didn't hesitate. Her teeth sank into his flesh, and the world exploded. If Dominic's bite had been a flood, this was an ocean. She felt everything, his power, his history, his 300 years of memory. She saw his loneliness, his endless searching, his moment of shock when she'd walked into his office. And beneath it all, she felt his love, vast and deep and absolutely certain. Mate, his wolf purred. Our perfect mate. When she pulled back, they were both trembling. Dominic's eyes were pure gold, his chest heaving. Blood dripped from both their necks, but already the wounds were closing, not disappearing, but transforming into silvery scars. "It's done," he said hoarsely. "The bond is complete." Elena felt it, a connection that hadn't existed before, a thread of pure light linking her soul to his. She knew, without being told, that she would feel him now, no matter where she went, would sense his emotions, his pain, his joy. She was no longer alone. Neither was he. "How do you feel?" he asked. Elena closed her eyes and reached inside herself. Her wolf was there, fully awake, magnificently powerful, ready to fight. She smiled. "I feel like a queen." But the moment of victory was shattered by a howl from outside, and then another and another, building into a chorus of alarm. Elena and Dominic raced to the window, and her newly enhanced vision caught what normal eyes couldn't. An army of hunters emerging from the forest, hundreds of them, armed with silver weapons and something worse, chains. Magical chains that glowed with dark power. At their head walked Lydia, her silver hair gleaming in the moonlight. "Surrender the princess," her voice rang out across the compound, "or we kill the children one by one, starting now." A small body was dragged forward, Jonas, the pup Elena had saved. A silver blade pressed against his throat. They had 12 hours until the deadline, but the hunters had come early, and they had a traitor leading them to victory. Elena's wolf saw red. That was her pup, the child she had saved. And now he knelt before Lydia with a blade at his throat, his golden eyes wide with terror. "I'm going out there," she said. "Elena, wait!" Dominic grabbed her arm, but she was already moving. She didn't run. She walked through the compound, past the gathered wolves, out the main gates to face the army of hunters. Her newly awakened senses catalogued everything, the number of enemies, their weapons, the fear scent coming from the captured children somewhere behind the lines. And Lydia. Always Lydia, with her cruel smile and blood-soaked hands. "Ah, the princess finally emerges." Lydia's voice dripped with false sweetness. "And look, you've been marked. How romantic. I hope Dominic enjoyed his last night with you. Let the children go." "Oh, straight to business, no pleasantries?" Lydia sighed dramatically. "Fine. Here are my terms. You surrender yourself to us and the children live. Simple." "And if I refuse?" Lydia's smile sharpened. She nodded to the hunter holding Jonas. The blade pressed deeper, drawing a thin line of blood. "Then they die, one by one, starting with this one." Elena's hands clenched. Behind her, she felt Dominic's presence, felt his rage through their new bond, his desperate desire to protect her warring with his need to save the children. "Think," her wolf urged. "You're stronger now. Use it." And suddenly, Elena realized something. Her wolf wasn't just awake. She was connected to something vast, a web of power that stretched across the entire pack, linking every wolf present. Luna Prima's blood, the first Luna's gift. She could feel them all. "You made a mistake, Lydia," Elena said quietly. "Did I? You thought my blood was just a weapon." She stepped forward, and the hunters shifted nervously. "But it's not. It's a birthright. Luna Prima didn't just found a pack. She created a bond between all wolves, a bond that flows through me." She closed her eyes and reached for that power. It answered. Energy surged through her, not just her own, but the combined strength of every wolf in the compound. She felt them lending her their power willingly, eagerly, felt Dominic's strength merge with hers until she couldn't tell where he ended, and she began. When she opened her eyes, they blazed silver white. The hunters fell back in fear. "Release the children," Elena said, and her voice was no longer just her own. It was layered, harmonic, carrying the authority of every alpha who had ever lived. "Now." The hunters holding the children simply let go. They couldn't help it. Even without wolf blood, they felt the command, an irresistible compulsion that brooked no defiance. Jonas scrambled away from Lydia, running toward the compound. The other children followed, herded by wolves who had shifted and darted through the hunter lines. Lydia's face twisted with rage. "Kill her!" The hunters raised their weapons, but Elena was faster. She shifted, not gradually, not painfully. She simply became. One moment she was human, and the next she was a wolf, unlike any seen in generations. Her fur was pure silver, gleaming like moonlight made solid. She was smaller than Dominic's wolf form, but radiated power that made even the Alpha King step back in awe. Luna Prima's heir, the Silver Wolf, reborn. Elena howled, and every wolf in the compound howled with her. Then she charged. The battle was not a battle, it was a reckoning. Elena moved through the hunter lines like a force of nature. Her teeth found throats, her claws found flesh. Hunters fell around her in waves, their silver weapons useless against a wolf blessed by the moon goddess herself. She was everywhere and nowhere, faster than their eyes could track, stronger than their weapons could counter. And behind her came Dominic, his black fur making him her perfect shadow, his fangs tearing through anyone who tried to attack her from behind. They fought like two halves of one whole. Other wolves joined the fray. The council members who had doubted her now fought at her side. Victor, the scarred Alpha, took down 5 hunters before they could reload. The dark-skinned woman, Queen Amara, Eleanor learned through the pack bond, led a team to extract the remaining children. In minutes, it was over. The hunters were dead or fleeing. The compound was secured. The children were safe. Only Lydia remained. Elena shifted back to human form, standing naked and bloodied before the woman who had killed her mother. Behind her, she felt Dominic shift too, felt him place his jacket over her shoulders. "It's over," Elena said. Lydia laughed, a broken, desperate sound. "Over? This is just the beginning, Princess. Do you think I did all this alone? The Ancient is still out there. My masters still have control of it. Even if you kill me, it doesn't change anything. Then tell me where it is." "Why would I do that?" Eleanor stepped closer. "Because if you don't, I won't kill you. I'll let the pack have you. 25 years of justice served." Something flickered in Lydia's eyes. Fear, genuine fear. "It's beneath Manhattan," she said quickly. "An underground facility in the old subway tunnels. My masters have been storing it there for centuries. They were going to release it at midnight tomorrow, princess or no princess. How do I stop it? You can't." Lydia's smile returned, tinged with madness. "Your blood can kill it, yes, but you'd have to let it consume you first. Your power would destroy it from the inside, but you'd die in the process. That's the price of being Luna Prima's heir. Your blood is poison to the ancients, but it only works if you sacrifice yourself." The words hit Elena like a physical blow. Sacrifice. Behind her, Dominic made a sound of pure anguish. She felt his emotions through the bond. Denial, rage, desperate fear. "No," he said aloud, "there has to be another way." "There isn't." Lydia's eyes glittered with cruel satisfaction. "She dies, or the world dies. Those are your only options, Alpha King. Choose." Elena looked at Dominic, at the pain carved into every line of his face, at the bond that pulsed between them, bright and beautiful and barely hours old. Then she looked at the children being reunited with their parents, at the wolves who had fought for her, at the world that would burn if she did nothing. "Dominic," she said softly. "No." He grabbed her hands. "I won't let you. We'll find another way. There is no other way." She cupped his face, feeling tears slide down her cheeks. "And you know it. I can't lose you." His voice broke. "I just found you. I know." She pressed her forehead to his. But I didn't survive 25 years in hiding just to let the world burn. My mother died protecting me. Now it's my turn to protect everyone else." She kissed him, soft, sweet, heartbreaking. Then she pulled away. "Take me to the Ancient," she told Lydia. "Now." But before they could move, an explosion rocked the compound. From the flames emerged figures that made even Lydia scream in terror, creatures of shadow and hunger, with glowing red eyes and forms that hurt to look at. Creatures that shouldn't exist, creatures that were supposed to be extinct. "The Shades," Victor whispered, his face grey. "They're servants of the Ancient. It's already waking up." The creatures turned toward Elena, and she felt them recognize her blood, the only thing that could destroy their master. They charged, and Elena realized that the sacrifice might come sooner than she'd planned. The Shades were nightmares given form. They moved wrong, jerky, unnatural, like puppets with broken strings. Their bodies were made of darkness itself, shifting and reforming with every step, and their eyes, burning red like hellfire, fixed on Elena with single-minded hunger. "Protect the Queen!" Dominic roared, his alpha voice cutting through the chaos. Wolves surged forward to form a protective wall around Elena, but the Shades tore through them like paper. Claws made of shadow ripped through flesh. Screams filled the night. Elena's wolf howled with rage. These creatures were hurting her pack, her family. She shifted again, her silver form blazing with power, and launched herself at the nearest shade. Her teeth closed around its neck and passed right through. The creature had no substance. It was darkness incarnate, impossible to wound by conventional means, but not impossible for her. Acting on instinct, Elena reached for that well of power inside her, Luna Prima's gift, the light of the moon goddess herself. She felt it surge through her veins, felt it gather in her jaws. When she bit down again, her teeth blazed with silver fire. The Shades screamed, a sound that hurt to hear, and dissolved into nothing. "Silver fire," Victor breathed from somewhere behind her. "She can hurt them." "Then we protect her while she fights," Dominic growled. He shifted to his black wolf form, taking position at her side. Through their bond, she felt his determination, his love, his absolute refusal to let her fight alone. Together, they tore through the Shades. It was brutal work. Elena's body ached with the effort of channeling so much power, but every time she flagged, she felt the pack's strength flowing into her, their loyalty, their love, their desperate hope. She was their queen, and she would not let them down. When the last shade dissolved, Elena collapsed into human form, gasping. Dominic caught her before she hit the ground, his own transformation swift and graceful. "Elena, Elena, look at me." She forced her eyes open. His face was pale, terrified. "I'm okay," she managed. "Just tired." "That was incredible." His voice shook. "You were incredible." "It's not over." She struggled to sit up. "The Ancient. If the Shades are already manifesting, it's waking up faster than we thought. We need to stop it. Now. You can barely stand. Then help me stand." She grabbed his hand. "Dominic, please. I know what I have to do, but I need to do it before it wakes fully, or—" A howl interrupted her. Not from the compound, but from the south. From Manhattan. They both turned to look, and Elena's blood ran cold. Something was rising from the city, a darkness that blotted out the stars, spreading across the sky like ink in water. Tendrils of shadow reached toward the moon, and everywhere they touched, light died. "It's already waking," Victor said hoarsely. "By the goddess, it's already waking." Elena felt it too, a presence at the edge of her consciousness, vast and ancient and hungry. It was aware of her blood, and it was calling to her, promising power beyond imagination if she would only surrender. "You could rule the world," it whispered. "Come to me, let me taste your blood. Together we could—" She slammed mental walls around the voice, shutting it out. "Get me to Manhattan," she said. "Now, Elena. Dominic." She grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. "I know you want to protect me. I know you just found me. But right now, the only thing standing between that thing and the end of everything is me. My blood. My sacrifice." Tears streamed down his face. "I can't watch you die." "Then don't watch. Fight. Lead the pack. Be the king they need." She kissed him, tasting salt. "But let me be the queen they need too." For a long moment he just held her. Then, slowly, he nodded. "The motorcycle," he said roughly. "It's the fastest way." They ran. The ride to Manhattan was a blur of speed and terror. The darkness in the sky spread with every passing minute, and Elena felt the ancient's presence growing stronger, pressing against her mind like a physical weight. "Soon," it whispered, "soon we will meet, Princess of Moonlight. Soon your blood will be mine." She gripped Dominic tighter, drawing strength from their bond. When they reached the city, chaos reigned. People ran screaming through the streets as shades emerged from every shadow. Police sirens wailed, car alarms blared. The world was ending, and humanity had no idea why. "The subway entrance?" Elena shouted over the noise. "Lydia said it was in the old tunnels." They abandoned the motorcycle and ran on foot, tearing through abandoned subway stations and descending deeper into the earth. The air grew thick, heavy, wrong. Even Eleanor's enhanced senses struggled against the oppressive darkness. And then they found it. The ancient lay coiled in a cavern so vast it seemed to have its own weather. Its body was impossible to fully comprehend, part serpent, part shadow, part something that defied description. Eyes like dying suns opened along its length, and when it spoke, the words appeared directly in Elena's mind. "Daughter of Moonlight, you have come to die." Elena stepped forward, leaving Dominic at the entrance. She felt his terror through the bond, his desperate desire to drag her away, but he stayed back. He trusted her. "I've come to stop you," she said aloud. The ancient laughed, a sound like worlds collapsing. "Stop me, little wolf. Your blood is the only thing that can hurt me, but to use it you must give it. All of it." "I know." She closed her eyes and reached for her wolf. For her power, for the love she felt flowing through the mate bond, Dominic's strength joining hers one last time. "I love you," she sent through the bond, always. His response was a wave of anguish and devotion so strong it nearly broke her. Always. Elena opened her eyes, blazing silver white, and she began to burn. Light exploded from her body, silver fire that poured from every pore, brighter than the sun. The ancient screamed as it engulfed the creature, eating away at its darkness. But as Elena burned, she felt herself fading, her life force draining, her soul slipping toward death. She'd known this was coming, had accepted it. But as her vision dimmed, she heard a voice, not the ancient's, not her wolf's, but something older, something divine. "Daughter of Moonlight," it said, "your sacrifice has been witnessed, but your story is not over." And then the moon goddess herself appeared before her, offering a choice that would change everything. Elena stood in a place that was not a place. Around her stretched an endless silver plain, lit by a moon so full and bright it seemed close enough to touch. Her body felt strange, weightless, ethereal, and when she looked down, she saw herself glowing with the same silver light. "Am I dead?" "Not yet." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "But soon, if you choose." A figure materialized before her. A woman of impossible beauty, with silver hair that floated like she was underwater, and eyes that contained the depths of the cosmos. She wore a gown that seemed made of moonbeams, and her smile held the warmth of 1,000 mothers. "I know you," Elena whispered. "You're the moon goddess." "I am." The goddess moved closer, her bare feet leaving silver footprints on the glowing ground. "And you, Elena of Silver Moon, are the daughter I have waited for across countless generations." "I don't understand." The goddess reached out and cupped Elena's face, her touch both cool and warm at once. When I created the first wolves, I gave them a piece of myself, a spark of divine light to guide them through darkness. That spark has been passed down through your bloodline, growing stronger with each generation. You are its culmination, the purest expression of wolf and divinity that has ever existed. Then why am I dying? Because you chose to. The goddess's eyes shimmered with tears. You chose sacrifice over survival, love over life. The ancient would have consumed the world, but you gave yourself to stop it. Did it work? Yes. The goddess smiled. Your light destroyed it utterly. The world is safe. Relief washed through Eleanor, followed immediately by grief. Then it was worth it. Perhaps, but death is not the only option. The goddess waved her hand, and the silver plane shifted to show a vision. Dominic, kneeling in the cavern where the ancient had been, cradling Eleanor's lifeless body against his chest. His face was a mask of absolute devastation. He will not survive your death, the goddess said softly. The mate bond will pull him into darkness. Without you, he has perhaps a year before his wolf consumes him entirely. Eleanor's heart clenched. No, that can't. It is the nature of the bond. Two souls, joined as one. When one dies, the other follows. The goddess turned the vision again, showing the pack compound, wolves keening in mourning, children crying, a kingdom without its queen. And without you both, the packs will fracture, old feuds will resurface. The peace your sacrifice bought will last perhaps a decade before war begins anew. Stop. Elena pressed her hands to her face. Stop, please. What's the point of showing me this? Because you have a choice, daughter. The visions faded, leaving them alone in the silver plain once more. The goddess took Elena's hands in hers. I cannot undo death, she said, but I can transform it. Your body burned with divine fire, there is nothing left to resurrect, but your soul, she smiled, your soul is mine to mold. What are you saying? I am saying that I can remake you, Eleanor, not as you were, but as something new, something stronger. The goddess's eyes blazed with ancient power. I can make you what Luna Prima was meant to be. A bridge between mortal and divine, a guardian of wolves for all eternity. Immortal. In a sense, you would still live, still love, still feel, but you would be bound to the moon as I am. Your power would be greater than any wolf who has ever existed, and your bond with Dominic would transcend even death. Eleanor's mind raced. What's the catch? There is always a cost for divine gifts. The goddess's expression grew serious. If you accept, you will live, but you will be forever changed. You will outlive everyone you love, except your mate. You will carry the burden of protecting all wolves for eternity. The choice is not easy, and if I don't accept, then you rest. Your soul passes on to whatever waits beyond, and the mortal world continues without you. Elena closed her eyes. She thought of Dominic, broken and grieving, of the pack that had accepted her, of the children she'd saved, who deserved to grow up in a world worth living in. She thought of her mother, who had died protecting her, who had given everything so Elena could have a chance. What would she want, Elena wondered. What would she tell me to do? And the answer came, clear as moonlight. She would tell you to live. Elena opened her eyes. I accept. The goddess smiled. Brilliant, blinding, beautiful. Then be reborn, daughter of moonlight. Rise as Luna Nova, and may your light shine eternal. She pressed a kiss to Elena's forehead. The world exploded into silver fire. In the cavern beneath Manhattan, Dominic felt his heart stop. The body in his arms, Elena's body, cold and still and empty, suddenly blazed with light so bright he had to shield his eyes. He scrambled back, watching in disbelief as silver flames engulfed her form, lifting it from the ground. "Elena!" His voice cracked. "Elena!" The flames coalesced, taking shape, but not her old shape. When the light finally faded, a woman floated where Elena had been. She was taller now, her features sharper, more ethereal. Her hair had turned pure silver, flowing around her like it was alive, and her eyes, when they opened, were galaxies of silver stars. She smiled at him. "Miss me?" Dominic made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. He reached for her, and she drifted down to meet him, her feet touching the ground with impossible grace. "How?" he demanded, pulling her into his arms. "You were dead. I felt you die." "I was. And then I was offered a choice." She cupped his face, and he noticed that her touch still felt the same, warm, grounding his. "I chose you. I chose us. I chose life. Elena." He pressed his forehead to hers, breathing her in. She smelled different now, like moonlight and starfire and eternity, but underneath it all she was still her, still his. "I'm Luna Nova now," she said softly. "The goddess made me something new, something that can protect our kind forever. I don't care what you're called." He kissed her, fierce and desperate. "You're my mate. That's the only title that matters." She laughed against his lips, and it was the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard. But when they emerged from the tunnels, hand in hand, they found the world had changed in their absence. Wolves had gathered by the thousands, not just from Dominic's pack, but from all the packs, drawn by the call of Elena's rebirth. They knelt as one when they saw her, and even the council members, even Lydia's surviving allies, pressed their foreheads to the ground. "Luna Nova," they chanted, "Queen of all wolves, we pledge our lives to you." Elena looked at Dominic, overwhelmed. He squeezed her hand and smiled. "Welcome to your kingdom, my love. The reign of the Silver Queen begins now." 1 year later, Elena stood on the balcony of the new palace, watching the moon rise over her kingdom. It still seemed surreal. All of it. The title, the power, the life she'd built from the ashes of everything she'd known. Luna Nova, Queen of all wolves, mate to the Alpha King. A year ago she'd been a secretary worried about spreadsheets. Now she ruled a supernatural nation. "You're thinking too hard again." She smiled without turning, as Dominic's arms wrapped around her from behind. His chin came to rest on her shoulder, and she leaned back against his solid warmth. "Just reflecting," she said. "It's been quite a year." "That's one way to put it." His lips brushed her ear. "We united 12 packs, reformed the council, established peace with 3 human governments, and survived no fewer than 4 assassination attempts. I'd say it's been eventful." She turned in his arms, looping her hands behind his neck. "And yet you still found time to bring me coffee every morning. Some traditions are sacred." His golden eyes sparkled with mischief. "Besides, I have to maintain my reputation as the most devoted mate in existence. I think you've more than earned that title." She kissed him, soft, lingering, full of the love that had only grown stronger over the past year. Their bond hummed between them, warm and bright, a constant reminder that they were never alone. When they broke apart, Dominic's expression had turned serious. "The council meets tomorrow," he said. "They want to discuss the treaty with the remaining hunter factions." "I know," Eleanor sighed. "There are still some who refuse peace, who believe werewolves are monsters that need to be destroyed. They'll learn differently, or they'll face consequences. I don't want more war, Dominic. Neither do I." He tucked a strand of silver hair behind her ear. "But I also won't let anyone threaten you or our pack. We've come too far to go back now." She nodded, leaning into his touch. He was right. They had come far, further than she could have imagined, that day she walked into Blackwood Enterprises, looking for a job. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked quietly. "Waiting 300 years?" "Not for a single moment." His answer was immediate. "Every century, every decade, every year, they were all leading to you. I would wait 300 more if I had to." "That's very romantic." "I'm a very romantic man." He grinned, then swept her off her feet, carrying her toward their chambers. "Now, my queen, I believe we have a few hours before any official duties. Shall I demonstrate just how romantic?" Elena laughed, clinging to him as he carried her through the palace, past guards who smiled at the sight of their beloved rulers, past servants who bowed with genuine respect, past portraits of their predecessors, Alpha Kings and Lunas who had ruled before, none with the power or the love that bound these two. And as the moon rose to its peak, blessing the world with silver light, Elena knew one thing for certain. She was exactly where she was meant to be. Not an orphan, not ordinary, not afraid. She was Luna Nova, queen of all wolves, mate to the Alpha King. And her story had only just begun. 5 years later, the Silver Palace echoed with sounds that made every guard smile. "Daddy, Daddy, catch me!" Dominic swept up his daughter mid-leap, spinning her through the air until her silver hair flew like a banner. Aurora giggled wildly, her golden eyes, her father's eyes, gleaming with delight. "Higher, Daddy, higher!" "Any higher and you'll reach the moon," Dominic laughed, "and then your mother will kill me." "I heard that," Elena called from the doorway, their infant son cradled in her arms. "And I absolutely would." Aurora squirmed down from her father's grip and ran to her mother, peering at her baby brother with the intense curiosity of a 3-year-old. "When will Orion be big enough to play?" "Soon, little star. Give him a few months. That's forever." "It only feels that way." Elena smiled, remembering when she too had thought years were forever. Now, with eternity stretching before her, she understood how quickly even centuries could pass. Dominic crossed to wrap his arms around all three of them, his family, his pack, his entire world contained in this single embrace. "The council delegation arrives tomorrow," he murmured. "The final treaty signings." "I know." Eleanor leaned into him. "And by next week there won't be a hunter organization left that hasn't agreed to peace. You did that. You made this possible. We did it. Together." He kissed her forehead, then her lips, then the top of Aurora's silver head, then baby Orion's tiny nose. His wolf, after 300 years of loneliness, had finally found peace. "I love you," he said. "All of you. Forever." "Forever," Elena agreed. And as the moon rose over their kingdom, blessing the Silver Palace with light, the queen of all wolves held her family close and smiled. She had been abandoned, lost, sealed away from her true nature. But she had also been found, loved, awakened to power beyond imagining. Some stories end with happily ever after. This one ended with something better, eternally together, home. And so concludes the tale of Elena Frost, the orphan who became a queen, the secretary who captured a king's heart, and the human who discovered she was never ordinary at all. From the moment she walked into Dominic Blackwood's office, fate had been weaving them together. Through battles and betrayals, through sacrifice and salvation, through the discovery of her true self, they found each other, and in finding each other, they saved the world. Thank you so much for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please leave a like and subscribe to join our pack. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another tale of love, wolves, and destiny. Comment below and tell me, what was your favorite moment? The first time Elena fought back against her attacker? The completion of the mate bond? Or perhaps the goddess's gift? I read every single comment, and your support means the world to me. Until next time, stay wild, trust your instincts, and never stop believing in fated love. With all my heart, see you in the next story.